Today I'm going to talk to you about fame farming in Albion Online. I'm going to be covering the equipment you will use, the different types of fame farming there is. Let's go over what is fame farming. Fame farming is gaining fame through combat by killing mobs, monsters, and so on. Now, which is basically like any other RPG, it's your experience points, okay? Your experience points, your fame, goes directly into your weapon, your chest piece, your helmet, and your boots, alright? And it increases the power of those items. As you slay mobs, you will gain more item power, which is denounced on your item page here. I'm only going to be covering solo methods. I'm not going to be covering group methods. I'm not going to be covering very in-game methods such as, hardcore expeditions or any of those kinds of things. All just solo methods that you can do by yourself, all right? I'm going to show you the most efficient equipment to use and the most efficient zones to farm in for all the different types of fame farming. Alright, so item power is whenever you left click on your item here, it pops up the window and you can see right here, item power. I have a 1748 on these spiked gauntlets. Now, to increase item power, you need to level up your fighter proficiency to 100 to be able to equip the highest tier of weapon. Then you have a specialization. By using that weapon in combat, you can increase it up to 100, and then from there, from 100 to 120, you'll have to increase it through combat fame credits. I'm not going to be covering that stuff today, because it's a huge sink, and it doesn't really increase your power that much. But if you were to level up the other war glove trees as well, you will give a slight increase to your item power on spiked gauntlets in this case. So I have level 100 spiked gauntlets, but if I had level 100 battle bracers and level 100 brawler gloves, my spiked gauntlets would receive 20 and 40 more item power, which would raise this from 1748 to 1788. Alright? And with that said, I'm going to go over the different types of fame farming and the most efficient gear to use. But before I do that, I want to mention that the Satchels of Insight, these are backpacks that will help you carry more gear, and they have a passive ability that increases your combat fame gained by a percentage. However, it will cost you silver for all of that extra fame. These things are a huge silver sink, and as a new player, or as a player who does not have a plethora of islands, farmland, and crafting and ways to make silver, you should never ever use any version of a satchel. Do not ever, if you have one, you can use it for backspace. You can turn off the passive by clicking Combat Study Inactive here, and that will deactivate it. But using a satchel to increase your fame farm should never be done for new or poor players, alright? Also, another way to increase your fame gain is, of course, having premium. For this video, I will not be showing off having premium for fame farming, as most new players won't have premium their first week or so. Now, the first method of fame farming is called open world mob farming. These are just random creatures, people, humanoids that you find randomly in the world. They usually inhabit little campsites like this or have little special areas set up for them. The animals, not so much, but these humanoids will give you tons of fame. All you have to do is dismount and take them out. You'll notice that that one gave me 559, and these saber-toothed tigers, well, they only give me 200 each. Now, these are smaller, weaker creatures, so they don't give much, but this guy here, watch how much fame he's going to give me. This is a level 1 enchanted mob, and over time, as these mobs set around, they slowly become worth more and more fame. So this one character here, this one guy, gave me 4,430 combat fame, okay? So, all you have to do for open world mob farming, which is by far the fastest and most efficient way to mob farm in the entire game currently, is to just ride around on your mount. I recommend any mount that has at least 1,000 HP. You simply ride around, like this guy's doing here. You just ride around, gather up a bunch of them, and then take them out. Now, these are just small little baby mobs, so they're not worth nearly as much, but you can find plenty of much higher tiered, higher leveled mobs if you go deeper out into the world. I also recommend that you become faction flagged by signing up for your faction's vendor, and that's going to give you an increase, a percentage increase in fame. If you are at least 3 tiles away from town, you will receive even more fame. So all you have to do to open world mob farm, just right around the open world here, I'm going to go ahead and go to another zone so that there's less people. The further away from towns you are, the more mobs there will be, and the less competition you will have. I don't know why someone's inviting me to their party. YouTuber privileges, I guess. So right now I have look at all of these mobs. Very high mob density. You see this bigger guy here, this berserker? Now he's going to give quite a bit of fame. So I'm just going to try to smash him up. He gave 2,000 to 32. The little ones only gave 500, but this is still far more than what you're going to get anywhere else for the amount of effort that you put into it. You just gather them up, and then you smash them down. And I'm going to show you right now the build that every single YouTuber recommends to do this, alright? So here is the build. You want to use, for your weapon, the Spiked Gauntlets. For your Q ability, use Dragon Leap. Use Triple Kick for your W ability. And, of course, you have Gravitational Collapse as your ultimate attack or your main attack. Just use the first passive, it doesn't really matter because this weapon deals so much more burst damage in a large area so fast that you're going to be killing everything you come across. When you first start out, when you have no combat fame at all and your weapon is a low tier, like tier 4 Spiked Gauntlet or something, you're going to want to use a full cloth set. It doesn't really truly matter what cloth you use. Mage Robe and Cultist Robe will deal the most damage, but you won't need it for very long. Maybe like your first few hours it might help, but after that you're going to be one-shotting everything anyway. So just any cloth robe with the passive that increases your damage, any cloth helmet with the passive that increases your damage, and any cloth boots, again, with the passive that increases your damage. Why does your armor not matter? Because check this out. Say I want to kill this mob here. When I dismount, my action abilities, my Q, W, and E are already ready. My armor abilities are not ready for 5 seconds. So I'm just going to smash them down. They instantly die. I'm going to mount back up and ride to the next pack and rinse and repeat. This guy just spawned in. So, pretty easy stuff. Just auto attack them down, use your abilities. And my armor just came up, but the camp is already destroyed. For your cape, I recommend a Thetford cape. This is a chain lightning attack, which is just extra damage whenever you do an auto attack, and it has a cooldown of 15 seconds. Because you are constantly going from camp to camp, riding around, killing mobs, this cape is going to be ideal for increasing and maximizing your DPS and clear potential. This also makes your auto attack basically a small ability-like spell that hits multiple enemies, deals lots of damage. It's just very good to have. It's very awesome. So you just ride around, go to the mobs, take them out. It's very, very simple. You just do this all day, and you will level up at an insanely fast rate. See, look at that. That's so much fame. It's more than you're going to get anywhere else as a solo player. For your food, you could use a beef stew, which I do not have here. I have a cabbage soup. It's whatever. You don't really need it, okay? Because as soon as you level up to be able to use like tier 6 or tier 7 gloves, you're going to one-shot everything and your armor no longer matters. I'm using a full 8.3 because I am in a yellow zone. And for those that don't know, the yellow zone is a safe zone. I cannot be killed by other players and have my gear taken. I can be beaten up by other players and have my gear damaged, which would cause a repair bill, but I have zero risk in the yellow zone. I will never ever lose my gear, so there is absolutely no reason why you should not use your most powerful gear available. Alright, because that will dramatically increase your survivability and clear speed. Though, in just tier 5 Spiked Gauntlets, you're going to be one-shotting everything out here anyway. Now, as far as efficiency goes, once you become a wealthy player, if you don't want to risk gear, farming in the yellow zones and using an 8.3 satchel, because you have no risk to ever lose it, is far more efficient than farming in a black zone with no satchel. Alright, when silver no longer matters, you can pop on that 8.3 satchel, and you will receive more fame per mob kill in the yellow zone with the satchel active than you will without a satchel in a tier 8 black zone. So, with that said, that makes the yellow zone the most efficient place to fame farm for open world mobs. There are many people who will disagree with this. There are many people who will fight you tooth and nail on Discord, on the subreddit, on the forums, that do not like this statement and absolutely hate me for making these statements. However, the numbers don't lie. You can even try it out yourself. The reason they do not like this statement is because it keeps newbies like you from taking their entire set out to the black zone where them and 20 of their friends are waiting to just absolutely gang you up and kill you and take all of your stuff and make you go bankrupt. It's a cruel world in Albion, but you don't have to actually venture out into those black zones until you are wealthy and ready and fully leveled up to deal with those kinds of players. With that said, let's go on to the next fame farm, and that is solo dungeons. Solo dungeons are the next way to fame farm. Now, I'm going to tell you right now that a solo dungeon is 6 times slower for fame farming than open world mob farming. However, they are slightly better at making silver and gaining treasure. Once you enter a solo dungeon, in a yellow zone, they take 60 seconds for the portal to close, assuming no one else comes in. People can come in and steal your dungeon, by the way. Or 90 seconds in a black zone. So, once you enter the dungeon, you basically run through the dungeon, you kill at least 90% of the mobs on the same floor, and you will be able to loot the treasure that the boss drops, okay? So, with that said, you just run through the dungeon. The dungeons are procedurally generated. And this will allow you to gain treasure and gain loot and gain wealth. However, the wealth has been heavily nerfed from the old days of Albion. So it's not as much money as it used to be. If you've watched some of my old videos or perhaps someone else's older videos, you're not going to make nearly as much silver as those videos present to you. Dungeons also have buff shrines and chests, but I'm not going to really go over fully what a solo dungeon is. These really should be avoided, as the fame gain is absolutely terrible compared to open world mobs. So remember when we killed that axe guy in the open world? Well, what about these two? These are really beefy mobs with similar high amounts of HP. How much do we get for killing them? For this one we got 500, and for this one we only got 500. Okay, remember that mob that we killed that gave us 4,000? The small ones are only giving 200. The rule of the channel is if you hear my girlfriend's cat meow, you have to leave a like on the video. So that's the rules, that's just the meme of the channel. So these small mobs are only giving 200. The small mobs outside gave 500. The big mobs are only also giving 400. That one only gave 400. Remember, these are big mobs. So, we're killing 2 of them at a time, sure. So they gave 500 and 500, that's 1,000 in one pull. Again, you can kill 1 mob in that open world, 4,000. You can kill 1 enchanted mob and get even more. If you find a boss monster on the open world, that can be tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of fame. That is why open world mob farming is 6 times faster than solo dungeons. But anyway, if you still want to do solo dungeons for the treasure aspect of it, which is completely random and based on the black market, here's the build for it. I'm going to give you 2 builds. The first build is if you're just starting out, and this is by far the fastest way to clear a solo dungeon. You're going to be using bolt casters with the explosive bolt, which unlocks very early on. Sundershot. The passive will be well prepared, so every time you shoot 4 spells, you get a free one instantly. You're going to use the Caerleon Cape to instantly reset your Q ability. You can see how these 2 stack. For the helmet, you're going to be using Spectre Hood with Flash of Insight. The passive will be damage, of course. You will be using a Druid Robe with Obsessive Burst and the damage passive. Then you will use any leather shoes, any of them, with Refreshing Sprint. Alright? For your food, I would recommend cabbage soup. You don't really need the damage one, but you can. I would, again, recommend cabbage soup over anything else. And here is how the build works. You first cast Obsessive Burst. Okay, and what this does is it will start a timer where everything you cast will increase your damage up to 6 stacks. So every ability you use will add a stack up to 6. You want to stack 6 as fast as possible so that your damage will deal the most. So I'm going to cast that now, and then I'm going to cast a Flash of Insight to reset my armor's abilities so that I can recast Obsessive Burst before it runs out, which will allow me to keep the stacks of damage. I can use Refreshing Sprint to make my Q spells come back faster. This is my main source of damage. For bosses, we're going to be using Death Ward Climax when fully buffed. This will immediately eradicate most bosses even at low tiers. So here's what it looks like. Armor, helmet, Q, Q, sprint, Q, run along, do auto attack, run along, do auto attack, And I'm looking at the top here, okay? You see how I have 6 stacks and I have 7 seconds remaining. I now have 5 seconds remaining. Right before this buff runs out, I'm going to use my armor once again. Boop. And now I still have those 6 stacks. And I'm still basically maxing out my damage. I'm going to grab this shrine. That gave me blue buff, which reset my armor once again. So I still have my 6 stacks. And right before that runs out, I'm going to refresh my spell here and keep those 6 stacks. So I have been keeping this 36% damage increase the entire time. I'm going to Sunder Armor the boss and immediately Death Ward Climax, and it will just delete its entire health bar. You will find mini bosses in these dungeons, which will have chests. In this case, I only received 396 silver in items and 1,000 silver in bags. This is the lowest tier chest, a green chest. There are also blue chests, and then purple chests, and golden chests, which are very rare. 1 in 100 dungeons, you will find a golden chest. But at least at the end of every encounter, you are guaranteed a blue chest from the main boss of the dungeon. So I'm going to go ahead and power up once again. Grab this here, another blue buff, very cool. And there we go, we have... I shot the ground here so I can stack it up to 6 before the stacking timer ran out. Remember, there are 2 timers. I'm going to reactivate it. You see how there's 2 of these little blue circles at the top with the little picture of the dude? When this left one runs out, I can no longer stack the buff. So I want to make sure to cast something to reset this buff before it fully ends. Here's the main boss. It's a purple chest. I'm going to Sunder him. I'm going to push E, but I'm going to be interrupted here. Nope, guess not. And that did almost 5,000 or more damage to him, which is almost his entire health bar. Remember, the higher tier chest, the higher tier the boss is. So let's see the treasure. If you have premium, you will get much more than I did, but I got 19,000 in items and another 6,000 in silver, so that's 25,000. And then combining with that other chest, this dungeon was worth 26,000 silver. It's not the best fame farm, but it is decent for silver if you are absolutely broke and just starting out. Once you become my power level in solo dungeoning, you will be able to speed run 1 floor in around 1 minute 45 seconds. Now, once you have a lot of combat fame, if you want to do solo dungeons just slightly faster with a slightly more efficient build, this is the build. You're going to be using the light crossbow with the crypt candle, same spells, explosive bolt, sunder shot, and well prepared. For your armor, you're going to be using Elder's Spectre Jacket. This only works when you are very, very high tier. And then finally for your boots, you're going to use the Royal Sandals. And what these do, you're going to have Defenseless Rush. This increases your run speed and damage for a short time. And the way this works is you're going to activate your boots, which gives you a damage buff. You're going to activate your armor, which is an AoE fire attack, which is snapshotted to the damage buff of your boots. While running, you're just going to run through the entire dungeon and melt everything that this fire aura touches. By using your cabbage soup, the health drain that you're having out of combat will be non-existent. You can sit at full HP when you have the armor active. You can see, well, my armor ran out, so I'm going to be using the Spectre Hood to reactivate my ability to cast that armor and then cast the fire aura once again, and just run through the dungeon, burning everything to a crisp. Sometimes you have to stop and shoot mobs with your explosive bolts, but you deal so much damage at this tier that it's pretty simple. The only downside to this build is that you won't kill bosses nearly as fast, but because you are extremely high spec, you have this fire aura self-ignition on the boss. You will have exploding shot from your light crossbow while sundered and spamming explosive bolts. Bosses still die very fast, just not as fast as bolt casters. But because you can clear mobs so much faster with this setup, it is slightly more efficient by about 15 seconds per dungeon floor, which, when you run dungeons for hours and hours a day, it adds up. With that said, that is how you fame farm in a solo dungeon. For me, I recommend Yellow Zone dungeons, and the reason why is these Yellow Zone dungeons can drop up to tier 7 loot, which is worth millions, and you will, if you do dungeons all day, every day, you will eventually get these tier 7 drops. But you have no risk of ever losing your gear, and because you can use the most powerful gear that you possess or can afford in a Yellow Zone, with no risk of losing them, and you build your faction reputation while you do them, you will be able to speed clear them much more fast and efficiently and earn more silver, and in the end earn more fame than if you ran a Black Zone dungeon by being far more efficient and running the dungeon faster. A lot of people will disagree with this, but those people either have guilds and they have hideouts. You don't have a hideout, you're a new player, you don't have a guild, alright, you don't want to bend the knee and be forced to fight in their armies and get taxed by them. I understand, I'm the same way, but they will still give you flack for listening to this guide. Don't worry about their opinions, they have their own agendas that they're trying to fulfill, okay? For me, I want you to be safe and wealthy before you even bother venturing out into that Black Zone. Some people might say this is boring. Well, it's an MMORPG. You're supposed to grind. That's how they are. So let's talk about the final the final fame farming method, which is corrupted dungeons. Well, I tried to record and someone jumped in the dungeon before I could find it, so let me find another dungeon. Here, you can see the difference. The green one is a solo dungeon, and this is a corrupted dungeon, alright? So for corrupted dungeons, Hunter difficulty means you don't lose your gear, but your item power is limited to 800. Stalker means you can lose your gear, and your item power is limited to 900. You also have to be in a red or black zone to enter Stalker dungeons. Slayer is up to, well, there is no item limit. You need at least a minimum of 1,200 to enter, but it does not limit your item power at all. You also need 100,000 infamy, which you gain while doing these dungeons. So for corrupted dungeons, it's mostly a rock, paper, scissors PvP arena. Now, the treasure in corrupted dungeons are by far the best out of the three options, and once you reach Slayer difficulty, the fame is on par with open world mob farming. So, if you want the best of both worlds, you want to work your way to Slayer. However, this is a PvP arena of sorts. The way it works is you enter this dungeon and you kill demons. And as you kill demons, you can be possibly invaded by another player who wants to kill you and either take your loot in Slayer and Stalker difficulty, or beat you up and damage your gear and take your boss loot in Hunter difficulty. So, the way it works is you run around with limited item power and you kill demons, and there's 3 bosses per floor, and then a main boss. So there will be 4 treasure chests total every single time of varying rarity. And you just kill demons. The fame isn't great until Slayer difficulty, okay? I'm going to tell you right now. The fame sucks absolutely until Slayer. The build that you want to use, if you want to PvP, you're going to have to look up a good PvP build. The meta always changes. It's basically rock, paper, scissors. You can have a winning PvP meta build, and someone could have a counter to your build, and you're forced to either run away and break crystals to banish them, or you take the loss, you lose your gear, and then you move on. Or, what I prefer to do is I just speed run the dungeon itself, and I ignore the PvP aspect. For that, I will use a regular bow, which I don't have shown here, I'm sorry. I will use a regular bow, a cleric robe for my armor, a hunter's hood for my helmet in case I get into a fight, I can reflect the damage, and a guardian boots for the boots so that I can have another defensive option if I am forced to fight someone. With that, I also just use a health potion and cabbage soup because I don't like to wait around for heals, but that's the build I use. In my testing, I can clear those dungeons in around 5 minutes. The world record for dungeon clearing is with a bear paws build, which is the double dual-wielding axes, and someone did it in 3 minutes 40 seconds. Now, that was also with the Spectre jacket, the royal sandals, and the Spectre hood. That's the world record speedrun build, but my build is lazy fast, and it's only 1 minute and 20 seconds slower. It's also far, far cheaper. So that is it for fame farming in Albion Online. This is an Albion Online beginner's guide to fame farming. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Swole Benji. Thank you for hanging out with me today. Make sure you leave a like, leave a comment. I read every comment, and if you have any questions, let me know. I will be glad to answer them in the comment section. But also comment on other people's comments as well. Don't just ask me stuff or reply to me. Talk to your fellow Albion Online players in my comment section, would you? And also, make sure that you're subscribed so that you don't miss out on a video. I make videos every single day on this channel. And so I will see you in tomorrow's video. If you want to leave a monetary donation, then click the thanks button down below. I would greatly appreciate if you did that. It will leave a monetary donation as a comment, and everyone can see how much you donated. It's really cool and flashy. It's bright colors. It's a real way to flex on your fellow commenters. And finally, if you want to support me monthly, then become a channel member by clicking the join button right below this video. If you join and become a channel member, you will have access to private, more personal videos only for channel members that normal, regular viewers cannot see. One of those videos teaches you how to be a YouTuber like me. I teach you everything I do, from how to record the video to how to edit the video, the programs I use, the settings I use. I teach you how to do tags, titles, thumbnails. I teach you how to very quickly do those, and how search engine optimization works, all in about 40 minutes. It's a very snappy and quick video. I basically made it for myself in case I get hit on the head and forget how to be a YouTuber. So I think it's worth the $5. Maybe it's worth it to you if you ever, maybe you know someone that wants to be a YouTuber, you can show them the video. Anyway guys, thank you so much, and I will see you in tomorrow's video. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out. Take care.